A leaked recording has shaken the entire music world. In it, rising star David appears to admit to something far darker than anyone could have imagined: the murder of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas. But this isn't just about a song. Celeste's body was found decomposing inside the frunk of his Tesla, and the eerie details from that scene line up disturbingly well with lyrics David recorded months earlier. Now, screenshots, phone calls, and chilling tattoos have surfaced, each piece tying him closer to a story that feels less like coincidence and more like a confession hiding in plain sight. So, how did one of music's fastest rising stars end up at the center of a scandal this disturbing? And is this leaked track the smoking gun, or part of a much bigger setup? Let's break it all down. The story exploded on September 14th, 2024, when a track titled Celeste suddenly appeared online. At first, fans thought it was just another unreleased demo, but within hours, the lyrics had people convinced they were listening to something much darker: a confession. The track opens with a chilling line: "She's with me forever, even if no one else sees." But it's what comes after that made everyone's stomach drop. David describes a body, a smell clinging to his clothes, and a tattoo burned into his memory. Those details weren't random. Just a day earlier, Celeste's remains had been identified inside the frunk of a Tesla registered to David. Tow yard employees had already reported a foul odor coming from the vehicle, and fans immediately linked it to the lyric about the smell. Even more disturbing, metadata embedded in the leaked file suggested the track was recorded months before Celeste disappeared. That meant either David had an obsession with morbid themes, or he was literally documenting a crime in progress. The song builds to a haunting bridge where he mentions her name directly: "Celeste, you're mine to keep." But before the final chorus can drop, the audio cuts off abruptly, almost as if he said something too incriminating to release. For listeners, it felt less like art and more like evidence, and the comparisons between the song's imagery and the crime scene were only just beginning. As investigators compared the leaked lyrics to the evidence from the Tesla, the overlap was almost impossible to ignore. In the song, David describes hiding something in a dark machine, cold and waiting to be found. Police reports later confirmed that Celeste's remains were discovered wrapped in plastic inside the front trunk of his black Tesla, the frunk. Then came the detail about weight. In one chilling verse, he mentions what's left of her, barely half her size. The coroner's report revealed that the body weighed only 71 pounds after decomposition and dismemberment, eerily close to what he described. Another lyric spoke of silence: "She told me shh, and now she'll never speak again." That single word, shh, connected directly to the tattoo etched on Celeste's finger, the very mark that allowed investigators to confirm her identity after months of searching. Fans flooded social media with side-by-side comparisons, quoting the lyrics next to police documents. The deeper people looked, the worse it seemed. What had once sounded like metaphor suddenly read like a diary entry, and it wasn't just the words. The sound design of the track matched the crime, too. A low, humming noise at the beginning of the song was identified by car enthusiasts as the faint whirring of a Tesla's engine cooling system. Was it a sampled sound, or an actual recording made inside his own vehicle? Each discovery blurred the line further between art and evidence. By this point, the question wasn't whether the lyrics were coincidental. It was whether David had essentially confessed to hiding Celeste's body in plain sight through music. The mystery deepened when people started asking the most important question: how did this track even surface in the first place? The song wasn't on Spotify, Apple Music, or any official streaming service. Instead, it first appeared on a low-traffic SoundCloud account with no followers, no bio, and a single upload, the alleged confession track. Within hours, the account was deleted, but not before users ripped the file and began circulating it on Reddit, TikTok, and Twitter. Some believed it was the work of a hacker, someone who had broken into David's hard drive or label database and leaked an unreleased song. Others pointed to someone closer, like an ex-friend or even a former collaborator, leaking the track as revenge. But the most unsettling theory came from investigators themselves, that the file had been uploaded by someone within David's own circle, someone who wanted the world to know the truth. Digging deeper, internet sleuths traced the metadata of the audio file. Shockingly, it contained a timestamp from August 2025, just weeks before Celeste's body was found. That meant the song was recent, not some old draft recorded years earlier. Even stranger, the file name wasn't random. It was labeled Celeste underscore final underscore mix.wav. This discovery sent shockwaves across social media. If this was a coincidence, it was the darkest one imaginable. But if it wasn't, then someone close to David had intentionally put his darkest secret online for the world to hear, and the question shifted from what does this track mean to who wanted it heard and why now. The moment the leaked track spread, the internet exploded. Fans who once praised David for his haunting, emotional lyrics now split into two camps: those who swore he was being framed, and those convinced he had just admitted to murder. TikTok was flooded with clips where users played the leaked song over news headlines about Celeste's disappearance. Hashtags like hashtag David Confession and hashtag Justice for Celeste trended within hours. Some fans slowed down the audio, claiming they could hear whispered words beneath the main vocals, phrases like "I warned her" and "she's still with me." Whether real or not, the idea alone fueled paranoia. On Reddit, entire threads dissected the lyrics line by line, comparing them with court documents and witness statements. One viral post laid out a timeline matching song references to actual events: Celeste's birthday, her disappearance, and the Tesla's abandonment date. The conclusion? The track wasn't just art, it was a coded confession, but not everyone was convinced. Defenders argued that the song was nothing more than David's trademark dark style, and that the internet was twisting coincidences into conspiracies. They pointed out that other artists had written about violence and death without ever committing a crime. For them, this was a witch hunt, a desperate attempt to cancel a young star on the rise. Still, the coincidences piled up too neatly for many to ignore. And as brands quietly cut ties with him, fans began to wonder if insiders already knew more than the public. Because if the leaked track was fake, why were sponsors, collaborators, and even venues suddenly distancing themselves so fast? In the end, the fans weren't just arguing about a song, they were questioning whether their favorite artist had blurred the line between art and reality so far that he might have written the soundtrack to his own crime. As the leak spread like wildfire, one thing became clear: the music industry was terrified to touch it. Within 24 hours of the track going viral, several brands quietly severed ties with David. Crocs, Hollister, and even a headphone company he had partnered with pulled campaigns that had already been paid for. Their official statements were vague, citing unforeseen circumstances, but fans saw right through it. They weren't waiting for the truth. They were running from the fire. Meanwhile, insiders claim that David's label scrambled into damage control mode. Reports surfaced of lawyers sending takedown notices to platforms hosting the track, demanding its removal. But every time one copy was deleted, 5 more reappeared somewhere else. It was a losing battle. Once the internet smelled blood, it was impossible to contain. Even more suspicious was the sudden silence from David himself. Normally active on social media, he vanished completely after the leak. No tweets, no Instagram stories, no live streams. For an artist who built his career by staying connected to fans, the silence felt damning. Whispers began to circulate. Was the label pressuring him to stay quiet, or was he hiding because he knew the leak was real? Some claimed he had already been questioned by investigators, though no official statement confirmed it. What made things even stranger was the industry's reaction. Fellow artists, even those who had collaborated with David, stayed completely silent. No support, no defense, no wait until the truth comes out. Just nothing. In an industry where solidarity is often quick and loud, the silence spoke louder than words. And that silence left fans asking, what did the music industry know about David? And how long had they known it? As the leaked track continued to circulate, investigators in Los Angeles began quietly reopening old files. What had started as a suspicious death tied to David's Tesla was now being re-examined under a much darker light. The song wasn't just eerie, parts of it matched details from the crime scene that had never been made public. Forensic analysts noted that the lyrics described plastic, silence, and something hidden where no one ever checks. Authorities couldn't ignore how closely that lined up with Celeste's remains being wrapped in plastic and left in the Tesla's frunk, a detail the police had only shared with a handful of insiders. At the same time, detectives began pulling deeper into the Tesla's onboard data. Every stop, every mile driven, every time the doors opened was stored inside the car's system. Reports suggested the vehicle had been parked near Mulholland Drive on September 7th, the day Celeste would have turned 16, before being abandoned just blocks from North Mansfield Avenue. The eerie timing reignited speculation that whoever was responsible had been sending a deliberate message. Meanwhile, digital forensics expanded to David's personal accounts. Alleged Discord logs, private Instagram messages, and even Venmo transactions were said to be under review. Each potential breadcrumb threatened to unravel the carefully curated image of a teenage prodigy who rose from gaming clips to music stardom. But the real breakthrough came when investigators re-examined Celeste's phone, recovered months earlier but never fully unlocked. With new tools, analysts reportedly accessed deleted chats, and some of the messages hinted at a controlling relationship. Mentions of secrecy, fear, and references to songs no one else will understand painted a disturbing picture. The pressure mounted. Detectives weren't just chasing a crime anymore. They were piecing together a pattern of manipulation, timing, and symbolism that tied an artist's public persona to private horrors. And for the first time, whispers inside law enforcement suggested that charges weren't just possible, they were inevitable. But before the case could move forward, one final revelation would surface, something that tied the music, the victim, and the silence of the industry together in a way that left even investigators stunned. The breaking point came when fragments of an unreleased music video surfaced online. The clip, less than a minute long, showed David standing in a dimly lit room holding a single red balloon. Behind him, the faint outline of graffiti read, "Shh." At first glance, it might have looked like an ordinary artistic concept, but to those following the case, it was anything but. The word "shh" was the exact tattoo found on Celeste's finger, the same tattoo investigators said had helped identify her body. Suddenly, the line between symbolism and reality blurred beyond recognition. Fans erupted. Social media timelines filled with side-by-side comparisons of Celeste's tattoo and the video still. Some argued it was proof of a direct connection, a visual signature hiding in plain sight. Others claimed it could have been coincidence, but the timing of the leak was too sharp, too deliberate to ignore. Public outrage exploded. Hashtags demanding justice trended worldwide. Former fans burned his merch on TikTok, while others accused the music industry of covering up his actions for profit. Memes, think pieces, and angry threads poured across Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit, each one dissecting his lyrics, his visuals, even the clothes he wore on stage. And yet, the silence from David and his team continued. No statements, no denials, just silence. That silence only made things worse. To many, it felt like an admission, a refusal to face what everyone was already saying. Even more shocking, the leak of the video wasn't traced to some random hacker or fan page. Whispers suggested it came from inside his own circle, someone close enough to access unreleased material, but angry enough to expose him. Was it a friend who had finally had enough? Or someone protecting themselves by forcing the truth into the open? Whatever the case, the damage was irreversible. David's career, once seen as unstoppable, was now hanging by a thread. The outrage wasn't just about one artist anymore. It was about what people believed the entire industry had allowed to happen. And for many fans, that video wasn't just art, it was a confession. The story of David and Celeste Rivas is no longer just a shocking headline. It has become a chilling case study in fame, influence, and the fragility of trust in the digital age. What began with the discovery of a body in a Tesla has spiraled into a tangled web of alleged grooming, premeditation, symbolic messaging, and public outrage. Each new detail adds another layer of complexity, making it nearly impossible to separate the artist from the alleged crimes. By now, the public has seen it all. Leaked demos, Discord messages, alleged call transcripts, and even a haunting music video seemingly referencing the victim. The evidence paints a picture of a calculated individual, allegedly using his fame and touring schedule as both cover and alibi, while simultaneously embedding clues into his work, lyrics, visuals, and even tattoos that echo real-life events. Every post, every track, every symbolic detail has been dissected, debated, and amplified by millions online. For David, the consequences have been swift and brutal. Streams surged initially, driven by morbid curiosity, but boycotts quickly followed. Major brands severed ties, tour dates were canceled, and a once loyal fan base splintered, with former supporters expressing shock, anger, and betrayal across social media. Even those attempting to defend him have struggled against the weight of what appears to be overwhelming circumstantial evidence. Yet, despite the storm, the legal reality remains unresolved. David has not been formally charged, and authorities continue to investigate. DNA, phone records, Tesla GPS data, and forensic analyses are still being examined. While the leaks may have swayed public opinion, the truth in a court of law remains the ultimate arbiter. Every shred of evidence must be scrutinized, every timeline verified, and every claim investigated to determine whether the alleged confessions are authentic or fabricated. Beyond the legal implications, this case has forced a reckoning in the music industry and among fans. It has exposed how unchecked access to vulnerable individuals can have devastating consequences, how fame can shield dangerous behavior, and how quickly digital evidence, whether real or manipulated, can shape perception. The line between artistic expression and real-life confession has blurred, leaving audiences to question the intentions behind every lyric, every release, and every carefully curated image. Ultimately, The David case serves as a haunting reminder of the dark intersections between celebrity, power, and accountability. It challenges assumptions about the people we idolize and the digital spaces we inhabit. It compels us to confront the uncomfortable reality that influence can be weaponized, that trust can be betrayed, and that the truth is often far more complicated and far darker than it appears on the surface. As fans, observers, and investigators alike watch the story unfold, one thing is certain: the shadow of this case will linger. The questions surrounding David's actions, the timeline of Celeste's disappearance, and the authenticity of the leaked evidence will continue to captivate and disturb. And for the millions who followed this rise to fame, the fall is a stark reminder that the world behind the music can be far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. For those keeping a close eye on the case, the debate continues. What really happened? Who knew what and when? And how much of the art we consume is truly separate from the life of the artist? These are the questions that will echo long after the headlines fade, leaving fans, law enforcement, and the public grappling with a story that is as unsettling as it is unforgettable.